What does it mean when key performance indicator does not provide the expected information?
Right. So one of the things, in all of the project, program, portfolio management, we always talk about what are your key performance indicators? What are your objectives? How are you going to measure this? And in the in the book, none of them they all work correctly. They always succeed. They always provide you perfect information. That happens, 50% of the time. Some might say 10%, some might say 80. Um, it, you're not going to get them right. Uh, Key performance indicators, especially the first try, guarantee you they're not perfect. They're not going to be measuring the right thing. You're going to get weird results on something. If you came up with 10 KPIs, you're probably going to get half of them that give you meaningful information. The other half, you're getting weird results. They conflict with other things. They don't match with what you expected, or you think they should be showing, 10% improvement, and your gut tells you it should be a 10% improvement. That everything should be a 10% improvement because you're
Hmm.
looking at the data and you're like, yeah, that looks like about 10%, but the KPI says you had 100% loss, and you're like, wait a minute. So this data does not compute. Um, and so why does that happen? And there's lots of things, right? So one of them is it really is bad performance, right? Maybe you really did lose 100%. It happens. So you could be good in good data. You could your KPI is just telling you results that you didn't expect and you don't want to see, but it's valid. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, are you measuring the right thing? If you're measuring, down, uh, one of the reasons that we found infrared light, the scientist who did it many years ago, right? You got a prism, broke out white light into red, yellow, green, orange, and he put a thermometer off to the side. And the idea was he wanted to see where do different color light give a different temperature.
Hmm.
And so he had a thermometer in each of the colors. And as a control measure, he had a thermometer off to the side of red. Well, that thermometer was hotter than everything else, and they found infrared. So, he was measuring the right things. He just got unexpected results because this control measure was found by accident and everything. But that as a KPI, you got bad results. You didn't get what you expected.
Yep.
Not necessarily a bad thing. It's just there's lots of contributing reasons. Are you measuring what you really think you want to measure, or are you trying to measure something that's not really quantitative? It's a qualitative, but you're trying to use a quantitative measure. Though that can happen, and sometimes you just don't know. It's the cause of what's happening is, buried 3, 4 levels deep, and you're just measuring the surface, and you can't see what's going on. So there's lots of different reasons uh, for KPI to give other than expected results. But it doesn't mean they're bad. It doesn't mean they're wrong. It doesn't mean you completely throw everything out. But it does mean, if you're not getting your expected results, why? Don't just automatically assume that, oh, well, this manager is doing something bad. Well,
Yeah.
first question is, are you measuring the right thing?
Yeah.
And I've tried to do some data analysis over the years uh, and had mixed results. One of my previous jobs, when I was on active duty, had to do with the Middle East, and one of the performance measures was insurance shipping rates in the Middle East as a military member, and they thought, oh, this is a great measure. Yeah, it's a great measure, but you can't get it. That's proprietary information. Insurance companies are not going to share it.
Yep.
And after a year of trying to use it, the people who were the experts came. Because it was time for the annual review. I said, okay, how are shipping rates doing? They're like, we can't measure that. I'm like, what do you mean? What about? No, you have a bad measure.
Yeah.
Great, it's a good measure, but it's a bad measure because it's not something we can get the data for. We're
Exactly.
going to measure other things.